guys, this is Ninja Jupi, and you're watching the Video Game Masters. Today, we'll be looking at SNK versus Capcom Chaos and King of Fighters All-Stars.
Oh, hey, Jupi. It's always great to have you on your show. But, where are you at? You're not at your house, are you?
When you like to know. But thanks for noticing anyway, Mark Senpai. Don't worry though. You'll find out soon enough. For now, that's just a ninja secret. He, me, too. Anyway, on to the games.
So, back in 2000, Capcom and SNK actually decided to work together and make some crossover games. Capcom made Capcom vs. SNK 1, and later on, Capcom vs. SNK 2, while SNK made SNK vs. Capcom Match of the Millennium for the Neo Geo Pocket Color.
The what?
What is that?
Yeah, it was one of SNK's handheld consoles that really wasn't very popular in the mainstream. And other than some card games, SNK finally decided to make a more traditional fighting game for the Neo Geo and the arcades in 2003 called SVC Chaos, SNK vs. Capcom.
This game was a one-on-one game, which was different compared to how King of Fighters usually has teams. You get the SNK favorites like Kyo Kusanagi, Iori Yagami, Terry Bogard, and Geese Howard. And you also get the Capcom fighters like Ryu, Ken, Chun-Li, and Bison. Everybody from the Capcom games are redrawn in the more serious King of Fighters art style.
Of course, the Street Fighter games are from the 6-button games, so now they have to adjust to SNK's 4-button style. Other than that, the gameplay is pretty much like KOF. You have the group college and it fills up to 3 levels. You can use these levels for the super special moves and a guard cancel attack. If you have the bar full to level 3, you can cancel your attacks into your super special moves for a limited time. Finally, you have to exceed moves that can only be done when your life bar is flashing red.
The game also has a lot of hidden bosses and mid-bosses that change depending on whether you're using an SNK character or a Capcom character, and also on how well you play. For the Capcom side, you run into Dan Hibiki, Dimitri from Darkstalkers, or Zero from Mega Man Zero as mid-bosses. You might face Violent Ken as a sub-boss, Shin Akuma as a boss, and Red Arimer as a hidden boss. The SNK side throws Gonitz at you, and Geese Howard, or the Mars people from Metal Slug as mid-bosses, Orochi Iori as a sub-boss, a more powerful version of Mr. Karate as the boss, and Goddess Athena from the original Athena games as a hidden boss. That's a lot of hidden bosses.
It's been a long time since I played the game. I did like using the Street Fighter characters in the King of Fighters style, but they did feel a bit stiff when compared to their own games. Of course, the King of Fighters characters played like how they always played, so it was easier to use them. This game was a lot more fun fighting against other players. The single player mode was pretty hard. To be honest, I didn't even know this game had so many bosses. This is a good game, but it could have been a lot better.
Here are my thoughts on the game. I think Chaos is good and stands out on its own, but compared to Capcom vs. SNK 1 and 2, this game doesn't feel as fast, and it doesn't look as dynamic. And considering the fact that it's supposed to be a collection of SNK characters versus a collection of Capcom characters, I don't know, it feels like you're playing another KOF game with Street Fighter characters in it. That's just my opinion. I feel like some of the character choices are kind of weird as well. I don't know, I don't think SNK has a big market in the US, and it just doesn't really have that big of an appeal. I feel the game kind of falls short on that department.
Alright, so my thoughts on SVC Chaos, what can I say? It feels like a game that's kind of there, like, you know, that happened. The roster is very Shoto heavy. Shotos are characters that basically are Ryu and Ken. So this game alone has Ryu and Ken, Akuma and Shin Akuma, the one that goes to 2 fireballs instead of just 1. You got Dan, you got Ryoza Kasaki, you got Mr. Karate and True Mr. Karate, which is I guess the more powerful version of Mr. Karate. You have Violent Ken, and then of course you can raise the argument of whether or not Kyo, Iori, Sagat, and Dimitri kind of Shotos or not. But yeah, this is Shoto Mania. On other things, we got Genguru, who's the rival of Haomaru, but Haomaru's not in the game. And that just feels weird because Genguru doesn't give no shits about anyone. He just wants to go after Haomaru, but he's not in the game. And it just feels weird having a rival character without, like, the main character in the game as well. It's kind of like having a game with Ken, but no Ryu, and Iori, but no Kyo. It just feels kind of weird. So, you know. Then you got, like, the Giants. We got Capcom with Hugo and SNK with Earthquake. Now, Earthquake was always a giant in Samurai Showdown, but Hugo was just, you know, kind of a very tall guy. Not like an all-out fucking giant, like a literal giant, you know? And here, they made him a fucking giant to kind of compete with Earthquake, but the thing is that by doing this, Hugo is a wrestling grappling character, Earthquake is not. So Capcom has a grappler and SNK does not, and they kind of fucked up there. On their side, it could have had possibly Goro Daimon or Blue Mary or Clark, but they're not giants. They're not going to compare to Hugo, you know? So in my opinion, you should have added maybe, if they wanted to do the whole Hugo and Earthquake thing, okay, but also have like Alex, a more regular sized character that's also a grappler, against like Clark or Goro Daimon or something. Yeah, it would have been kind of sucky that SNK would only have one grappler compared to two, but it's better than having none, right? So I guess another thing that really does catch my interest and pique my overall curiosity in SVC Chaos is the fact that it is so hard to find and so difficult to play on your regular home console. It was released only for the Japanese PS2, so I can't play it on my American PS2. I know a lot of people like to like crack their console or mod it or whatever. I'm not going to do that to my PS2. That's my baby. And also, it was also, like, I guess the only legit way to play it in America, it was released for the original Xbox, but unfortunately, this game cannot be played on your Xbox 360. And yes, I know a lot of Xbox games do work on your Xbox 360. For example, I got Dead or Alive 3 right here. This one is for the classic Xbox, and it works just fine on my Xbox 360. But it just so happens that SVC Chaos is one of those games that does not work on the 360. And since the game was never released on like the PlayStation Network or Xbox Live or whatever, I can't get it that way either, and that sucks, because I would have bought that game in a heartbeat. I know I gave it like a more or less review, but I don't hate the game that much that I'm not going to like actually buy it. I would still buy it to play it and get all the multiple endings and the multiple bosses and all that cool stuff. So who knows, maybe with the brand new Xbox Series X that's apparently supposed to play like every Xbox game ever, supposed to be backwards compatible with all the Xbox console games ever, maybe I'll get an Xbox Series X to play SNK vs. Capcom Chaos at long last.
Right. Like you're going to buy the Xbox Series X just to play SNK vs. Capcom.
I mean, come on guys, it's just an idea, right?
WTF is that? Is that what they're really gonna call the new Xbox?
Yup, that's what they called it.
Ugh. Great name, you guys.
And as for some extra info on SVC Chaos, some of the characters like Geese Howard and Orochi Iori actually appear as hidden characters in the home version of King of Fighters 2002, but they play and sound like the way they do in SVC Chaos. Then of course we got the big return of Violin Ken in Ultra Street Fighter 2 The Final Challengers for the Nintendo Switch, which is a real big surprise because not only is it so many years later, but also a character that came from a SNK crossover game, so that was pretty surprising. And finally, there was a comic book series based on SVC Chaos that was later collected in several thick volumes, but the volumes would eventually go up in prices like above $100 or so because I guess they're so rare and hard to find, and I'm not going to spend that much money on those volumes. That's just crazy, but it was a pretty good story, as much as it is. In the comic book version, the tournament took place in this other world, and I guess the only way to get there is by dying. Now, I don't know how Kyo died, but I know that when Iori found out that Kyo died, like, Iori flat out kills himself just to go to the other world and continue his crazy feud against Kyo. And not only that, but Iori gets killed by Orochi Iori, that somehow in this world, I guess they're like two separate entities. It's just super insane. But nothing is more insane than Chun-Li sticking her leg out like of a speeding vehicle and planting her leg into the ground and letting it like stop and turn. Like, I don't care how thick Chun-Li's thighs are. I mean, you're going to break your leg in half doing that. That's fucking insane. That's a topic for another day.
You know, it's a shame that this game was never ported to the later systems. You know, the later consoles. I mean, not even the Xbox 360 back then. I mean, what exactly were they thinking? It's like a missed opportunity here or something. Jeez.
Yeah, it kind of sucks. It was only ever released for the PlayStation 2, but only the Japanese version.
Oh man, it is like so good to see the fish hunter again. Remember, when you go after the kind of fish that he goes after, it's not fishing, it's hunting!
Oh man, not you too. Must everyone say the fish hunter's catchphrase?
Anyway, on to King of Fighters All-Star for your mobile phones. Okay, yeah, mobile. Mobile.
This should be interesting.
Hey, come on, come on! Ready, go!
The King of Fighters All-Star is a free-to-play mobile phone app game that takes you to the stories of the KOF games. Basically speaking, these guys called tuners are working on the KOF All-Star game, and you play as some sort of bug that somehow got into the game and lost your memory. You play through the story of the games with the NPC character Noah as your guide, starting from King of Fighters 94 and onwards as you fight up against the villains you encounter in the games like Rugal, Geese Howard, and eventually Orochi himself. However, as you do this, you're pretty much messing up the way the games would normally play out. The more you play the game, the more you alter the events, and the villains start to focus their sights on you instead of the regular heroes, and the tuners will also continue to work harder to try to eliminate you.
The game plays like a beat 'em up, and since it is on your phone, you just tap the screen to do the attacks. You can also do special attacks, and when you fill up your energy bar, you can do the super special attacks. Since this is King of Fighters, you can control a team of 3 and switch between the fighters at any time. Each character also has a striker you can use several times, and you can also get an extra supported character you can only use at one time.
As you grind through the game, you can find items that help you level up your character faster than just gaining experience normally. Once you reach your current limit, you can actually use limit breakers to go even further beyond. And if you can find and equip the special attack cards, you can also let your character use a more powerful cinematic looking special move. That's just awesome.
As you play the game, you can unlock more and more characters, but you get characters from KOF 94 to 98, but newer characters based on the NES saga and beyond are now being added. You can also find different versions of the characters like this holiday style Leona, this summertime version of Mai, or even this New Year's celebration version of Geese Howard. Cause even bad guys gotta celebrate with some sake, right? Sometimes you get cameo guest star characters from other games like Samurai Showdown and Tekken. But the craziest one was the crossover with the WWE. Yup, Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins, The Rock, John Cena, Kofi Kingston, and Undertaker joined KOF.
Wait a minute, The Rock and John Cena are in King of Fighters?
For a while anyways. The problem with these cameos is that they're usually for a limited time and there are several ways to unlock them. The bad thing is whenever the promotion ends, these characters are no longer available. I mean, you get to keep them if you unlock them, but if you didn't get to unlock them during that time, you missed your chance for good.
Yeah, I missed my chance to unlock Becky Lynch.
The game looks like a lot of fun. There are a lot of King of Fighters characters to collect, and since it's a mobile phone game, you can just play it whenever you have free time. Everybody looks great, the background looks good, and you even get music from the games too. And since it's free, I have to check it out myself.
This game looks pretty good. You have good graphics and it's easy to play. The story takes you back to those older days in the arcades, fighting against Rugal and going into Orochi. It reminds me when KOF 94 first came out in the arcades. There are tons of characters and different versions of the characters with different moves. Like KOF 94 Kyo has different moves from KOF 95 Kyo, for example. This is a lot of fun, and hey, it's free.
Alright guys, I heard my thoughts on King of Fighters All-Star for your mobile devices. what can I say? The game's a lot of fun, especially if you're an OG King of Fighters fan, starting off with King of Fighters 94, and reliving the events of the Orochi Saga, the Ness Saga, and they're starting to add a couple of things now relating to the Tales from Ash Saga. So, since this game is still ongoing and they're still adding more updates and stuff, they may actually get to King of Fighters 13 and 14, so that'll be pretty cool. And there's also, for whatever reason, these gender-bending versions of the characters. So you have like female Mr. Big, and female Kim Kapwan, and female Billy Khan that is way more prettier than she should be. It kind of makes me question myself there. And also, of course, the guest star characters from stuff like Tekken and Gintama and WWE. Now, I noticed that they brought back Gintama. It was actually a crossover they had before, and they brought it back. So I'm kind of hoping that means that eventually they're going to maybe bring back the Tekken one or the WWE one. Now, another thing I like about the game is they just keep on playing and playing. A lot of these free-to-play games only let you get so far, and then it gets too hard, and it's kind of like, hey, want to keep on playing? Or, hey, want to get strong enough to do the next level? You gotta pay, and stuff like that. So I can, like, just, you know, unlock all the stuff I want with the rubies, a little bit of grinding. I don't have to spend like my actual money on it. I never ever spend money on these mobile games. I always just grind. And this game, you can just keep on playing, keep on doing stuff. There really isn't like a place to stop you. You gotta pay. I mean, all the side quests and stuff, yeah, you can play them like maybe 3 times each before they stop you or whatever. But the main game, the main story, you can just keep on playing it and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool.
Now for an extra update that wasn't in the original review. The King of Fighters All-Star is still going strong to this day, adding more characters and bringing in more crossovers. The most noticeable one being with Street Fighter 6, bringing in Cammy, Guile, Jamie, Jury, and Ken. Who knows who also add and who also cross over with in the future.
And that wraps up this episode of the Video Game Masters. This is Ninja Jupi signing off. See you all next time. Deva Mata.